Dear students from different PG departments of Patna University who opted human rights as G paper in semester 4th, I feel privileged to welcome you all again in my fourth video on human rights. Friends, in today's video, I will be discussing the part 2 of unit 2nd, which talks about International Bill of Human Rights. Friends, we are not having any single document to whom we can address at International Bill of Human Rights. So, first of all, I would like to let you know that what actually International Bill of Human Rights actually means. The International Bill of Human Rights actually means the combination or collection of the three different documents and the provisions of these three different documents, in which the first is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. The second document, which is the part and parcel of the International Bill of Human Rights, is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The third document, which is incorporated among the International Bill of Human Rights, is the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. So in short, we can say that International Bill of Rights simply means the collection and combination of the three different documents like Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948 and International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. So to begin with, first the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and to start with the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, first of all I would like to introduce to you that how this Universal Declaration of Human Rights and why finally this Universal Declaration of Human Rights was enacted and adopted by the General Assembly of United Nations Organization in 1948. Friends, in 1945, when the founders of United Nations met at San Francisco to draft UN Charter of the United Nations, some of the states like Panama wanted the conference to discuss an international Bill of Rights, and they were of the view that human rights must be incorporated as a part of the UN Charter itself. But unfortunately, at that time, a specific list of rights could not be prepared due to lack of sufficient time. However, it was realized by all the members of the United Nations that it should be an obligation of all of us to promote human rights so that we may be able to establish international peace at international level. Therefore, after the UN Charter came into force, the most important task before UN was the implementation of principle of respect for human rights, and to achieve this target it was decided to prepare an international Bill of Rights, and this task was given by the General Assembly of the United Nations Organization to its one of the a specialized agency known as Economic Social Council to draft the International Bill of Rights. And again the Economic Social Council given this responsibility to a drafting committee constituted by the Economic Social Council, and drafting committee by after going through the ups and downs finally drafted an enactment which was, although never being known as International Bill of Rights, but while declaring this drafted declaration, United Nations organization given to this declaration a title, and the title was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In this way, finally on 10th of December 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights came into existence. Friends, this Universal Declaration of Human Rights contains 30 different articles, and if you analyze these articles critically, then you will be able to specify that Article 2 to 21 is related with civil and political rights, and Article 2 to 27 or 28 is related with economic, social and cultural rights, and rest of the articles were related to the general principles of the human right and the human values. Friends, it is not possible to discuss all the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the provisions of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the provisions of the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights in a single video of 1 or 2 hours, because as a law teacher we used to taught even the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for a month, but since time is not allow me to take much of your time, so I will be trying my level best to summarize some of the important provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in this short video on Unit 2, Part 2 of your session. So friends, let us start discussing some of the important articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And among all the articles, the most important article of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is the Article 3 of the Declaration, which talks about right to life, liberty and security of persons. Friends, we all know that right to life is the basic, inalienable and inherent right which cannot be taken away by any state or the institution within the territory of the state. So, Universal Declaration of Human Rights specifies that all the members of the United Nations organization and all the signatories of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at least try its level best to secure the right to life not only of the citizens of his or her country, but even the right to life of the resident and right to life of the visitors. So the right to life is being incorporated under 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. The next important article is incorporated in the form of the freedom from slavery or servitude. Friends, we all know that it was the rule of warfare in earlier times that once a state is being conquered by the other, the conquering state was having right to compel the conquered state's soldiers to become the slave of the conquering states or the slave for the winning party. So this system was to be abolished, and this was specified under Article 4 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that nobody should be compelled to be a slave of any individual, and this was an international obligation on the peoples of the universe to abolish this concept of slavery and servitude, which is against the dignity of the human being or the human civilization. The other important article I can specify is the Article 5, which talks about prohibition against torture, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. Friends, we all know that in all the civilized nations and in all the civilized society, it is the permitted concept that if somebody commits any illegal and unjustified act, then he may be arrested or confined. But what actually importance of this Article 5 is that you were allowed, being an independent and sovereign state, to arrest and confine an individual for doing an illegal act, but confinement should not be subject to torture or inhuman and degrading treatment. Even the accused who is finally declared wrongdoer, even then degrading punishment could not be granted, and this was to be incorporated in all the national laws of the members of the United Nations organization, and especially in the national laws of those states who were the signatories of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. The other important article is Article 7, which talks about equality before the law and equal protection of the law without any discrimination. Friends, we all know this provision, because this is one of the very important provision or the fundamental right given under Article 14 of the Constitution of India. This same right was incorporated under Article 7 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, which talks about equality before law and equal protection of law. Equality before law means that peoples from Prime Minister to peon should have the same law, and equally it must be treated equally, and equal protection of law means that the procedure for punishment and for any other legal consequences, the procedure must be the same for all the peoples from Prime Minister to the peon of a country. That means Article 17 talks about the equality before law and equal protection of law, which is an important right of the citizens of any of the country. This was the incorporation in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for those states who were not given equal rights to all the citizens of his or her country. The other important provisions which we may discuss with reference to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is the freedom from arbitrary arrest, detention or exile, and this is incorporated under Article 9 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It simply means that if in a country the right to arrest is the discretion of the state, then it should not be continued, and a state must draft and adopt a fair procedure and grounds for arresting an individual, and arbitrary arrest must be abolished by all the members of the United Nations organization, and especially by those who were being the member of the or the signatory of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The other incorporation is the Article 10, which is again a very important article of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which talks about right to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal. Friends, it was realized that even at that time that if any state or member state wants to implement the human rights in a positive way, then he should not rely on the regular courts, the implementation and enforcement of the human right. Instead, every state must establish an independent tribunal or an independent judicial body to take care of the violation of the human rights. And to comply this provision, finally in 1993, India established National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commissions after the passing of the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. The other important article is the Article 11, Para 2, which talks about freedom from ex post facto laws. Ex post facto laws simply means, friends, ex post facto laws is a constitutional principle, and it was incorporated under Article 11, Para 2 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. as well as under Article 20 of the Constitution of India, which talks about that if you have committed any wrong which was not an declared offense within the territory of your country, then after declaring that particular wrong a crime or a offense, the state will not be allowed to implement that law retrospectively and prosecute a person who has committed that wrong at the time when that wrong was not an offense. It simply means that retrospective operation of the wrongs cannot be allowed, and it is against the principle of the ex post facto laws. The other article is the right to freedom of family, home and correspondence, given under Article 12 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Friends, I cannot be very I cannot explain all these rights in detail because this I might be required to take more than 10 to 12 hours to deal with all these rights of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So I am just reading with the other provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You have already given. I have already asked your coordinator to give the study material relating to all these rights of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and you might be having those PDF materials. You may go through those and you will be able to understand that how many rights were incorporated and with what names by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The other rights you can incorporate in the form of the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association, given under Article 20, right to participate in government of his own country. This is the incorporation of the political right given under Article 21. The right to freedom of thought, conscience and religion, given under Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Till now I was talking about the civil and political rights which were incorporated under Article 2 to 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Friends, the other provisions which is given in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is related with economic, social and cultural right, given under Article 22 to 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So let us have an idea about the economic, social and cultural rights given in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. First is the right to social security, given under Article 22. The other is the right to work and free choice of employment, given under Article 23. Right to rest and leisure, given under Article 24. It simply means that employer, whether the state government, the central government or even a private undertaking, is not allowed to ask you to work for hours without any leisure and rest. You must be given a rest and leisure during the working hours. Next is the Article 25, which talks about right to a standard of living adequate for health of himself and of his family. Still we are lagging behind. We were not having the adequate standard of living, especially from the point of view of health. We all have witnessed the paucity and scarcity of these services during the pandemic 19 coronavirus. Next is the right to education, given under Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These were all the pressures at international level, due to which finally by adding Article 21A, the right to education was declared one of the fundamental right of the citizens of India. The other right is right to participate in cultural life, given under Article 27. and the last one is the right to good social and international order. So we can say that these were all the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a combination or a complete combination of both the civil, political as well as economic, social and cultural rights. But friends, you may ask me a question that if Universal Declaration of Human Rights was complete in itself, or it incorporated the provisions relating to the civil and political rights as well as economic, social and cultural rights, then why and for what again the covenants were enacted and drafted by the General Assembly of the United Nations Organization? It was simply so because Universal Declaration of Human Rights was simply a declaration, and this declaration was not incorporated even a single article dealing with the enforcement of the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It means the enforceability of the declaration or the provisions was not compulsory. It was simply an standard and a standard to be achieved by the international community, as a result of which the maximum members of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the members of the United Nations Organization were not interested to implement the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was passed in 1948. Then the United Nations Organization, after regular monitoring of the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, finally came with another proposal of drafting in which the implementation was to be focused, and as a result of which finally the two international covenants with different ups and downs finally was incorporated or adopted or passed in 1966. Although again unfortunately these covenants were not immediately implemented. It was drafted in 1966, but somehow these covenants were finally implemented in year 1969 onwards. This is all about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and its importance as a document, as a Magna Carta of human rights at international level. Friends, the other segment is the rights incorporated in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. I think I will be discussing the provisions of these two covenants in next coming video. Thank you very much.